Hello and welcome to AI at Work. I don't know about you, but now that it's February, my New Year's resolutions are really starting to fade. But what doesn't fade are some of the key tools that I use to maintain my productivity all year round. I wanted to show you 3 of my favorite tools. The first is Wispr Flow, which is a voice-to-text platform. The second is ChatGPT's Atlas Browser. And the third is a meeting transcriber and note taker called Granola. So let's dive in. Let's take a look at Wispr Flow, the voice-to-text platform that I absolutely love. What you're looking at here is the dashboard that you'll see once you download Wispr Flow onto your desktop. And on the home screen, we get a little bit of information about how to use Wispr Flow. So you can set up your shortcut however you want on your keyboard. So you could use this combination, or on my laptop, I use the function key, however you want, whatever's easy and quick for you. And then you also can set up your dictionary. If there are specific words that you use as part of your dictation, your name, emails, you can set all of these up so that Wispr Flow corrects them or expands them as you go. It commonly misspells ChatGPT as an example, so I've set this up as a spelling correction so that whenever I say the word ChatGPT, it will automatically type it out correctly. Another thing I love in Wispr Flow are the snippets. So if there are things that you say all of the time and you want a shortcut, you can create those. So it gives you a couple that you can start with, as in your LinkedIn profile. If you have an introductory email that you always use, you can create a snippet for that, your Calendly link, and so on and so on. You can also personalize the style. You could be more formal, casual, or very casual. I like to be middle of the road, so I've selected casual. But what's also really great is that you have the preference for doing this for personal messages, work messages, and email. So you can customize it depending on the channel that you're working in. So if you're just talking to a friend, you could make it more casual. And if it's a work message, you can make it more formal. And then finally, you have a spot to take quick notes. I don't really use this section very much, but it's here if you need it. All right, so let's see it in action. We're going to toggle over to a ChatGPT browser. And I absolutely love Wispr Flow for when I'm creating my prompts or dictating a document, because instead of having to type it out, I can just talk to ChatGPT. So let's say I'm preparing for my upcoming newsletter and there's a topic I'd like to explore. So I hit my action button, which is the option key. I'm thinking about creating a newsletter next week that covers the topic of risk. There's been a lot of excitement around a brand new platform called Maltbook, and I would like to understand the impact on users and whether or not it's safe to use. And there you go. There's my stream of consciousness in a prompt. Now, if we look at Wispr Flow in a document, I'll pop over here. I have a blank document in Google Drive, and it works in any document. It could be email, Google Docs, Microsoft Word, it doesn't matter. Wherever you can write, you can dictate using Wispr Flow. So in here, I can just start to transcribe as I'm speaking, and Wispr Flow takes care of the rest. And once I'm finished, I just lift my finger off the hotkey, and then Wispr Flow has transcribed everything I say. One of my favorite things about Wispr Flow is the ability for it to understand emojis. If I want the smiley face emoji, I just say the word, and there it is. If I want the unicorn emoji, again, there it is. And that saves you so many clicks. And it's only a couple of seconds every single time, but the fact that I don't have to go to the emoji section and scroll through and search, and it just appears right as I'm speaking in my flow, saves me so much time and frustration. So some of my favorite things about Wispr Flow. The next thing I wanted to show you is ChatGPT's Atlas Browser. And we are already inside here. And as you can see, I've opened up a ChatGPT window. I have my Google Drive, I've got Docs, and so on. And the way that I use the browser is when I'm working on my documents, and I find it a really excellent helper. So this is a newsletter that I worked on previously, and you can see I have all of my content here. And when you want to activate ChatGPT inside the browser, you just toggle on this section here. You can ask for an overview of a document. So if somebody sends you something, you can open it in Atlas Browser and ask for an overview, which I've done here. And then you can just start chatting with this document however you like. So I usually ask it things like, help me find some sources for a section I'm creating, or help me come up with a title. So one thing I love to do, because I get stumped a lot when I'm thinking of subject lines, is I use Wispr Flow inside Atlas and I say, create 10 subject lines with preview copy that might work for this week's newsletter. And I let Atlas do the work here. And as you can see, I didn't specify the topic. I didn't have to give it any detail or context. And the reason is it's already open in this document, so it understands that I'm asking for a subject line for this document. And you can see here we go, we've got our 10 subject lines. Now, Atlas is a lot more powerful than just helping you out with documents. It has what we call agentic capabilities. So you can give it a task and send it off on its way to do that task for you without you watching it the entire time. As an example, let's say I want to book a trip somewhere and I am going to have Atlas start searching for flights for me. So I've popped over to Expedia and I open up our trusty little Atlas chat and I'm going to ask it, find me flights from SFO to Melbourne in March. And then you go to the little plus button at the bottom, you select agent mode, and then you submit the request. And as you can see, Atlas has now activated the agent mode. You've got the little sparkles that show you that it's operating autonomously, which is kind of cool to see. And then it gives you its thinking over here in the chat column. And you can see it wants specific dates. So let's say I want to leave SFO on March 15 and I'd like to return on March 28th. So what you'll find is when you activate agent mode, it can conduct a lot of the tasks on its own, but when it gets stuck, it is going to come back into the chat and prompt you. The other thing, I don't ever like to give these browsers access to my logins and passwords. There are some security risks. And so when it comes time for me to log in and purchase this flight, I tell it to stop, it comes back to me, hands over control, and then I take care of the purchase. But as you can see, as we've been chatting here, the Atlas agent is busy searching for my flights and interacting with the Expedia website, clicking buttons, entering information. And it's really amazing how it can do this all autonomously without me guiding it exactly on the journey. All right, so we don't have time to watch Atlas work because sometimes this can take a long time. So we're going to stop that and I'm going to pop over to my third tool that I wanted to show you today, Granola. So here we are in the Granola dashboard. You do need to download this onto your desktop and it is only available for Mac at the moment. So if you're on a PC, you'll have to use something like Reclaim AI or Fathom. But if you're on a Mac, I highly recommend Granola. You download the app onto your desktop, and then when you open a meeting, it will automatically recognize the meeting and ask you if it would like you to join and start transcribing. So I had a meeting here with a coworker, Oliver Green, and these are the notes that it produced right after we wrapped up the meeting. So you can see it's grouped the conversation into topics. It has a section for next steps with action items. But if you do want to see the transcript, you can click on this little button down here in the bottom and you can see it's got the full transcript, which you can then download and interact with as you need. The other thing you can do is when you are inside a meeting, you can take notes right inside this window. So if there's something you wanted to highlight specifically, that way you won't forget it and it just automatically stays a part of the notes that Granola is taking for you. Okay, I know that was a super quick look at those three tools, but hopefully that gives you an idea of how and why you would use them as part of your productivity process. There are tools that I absolutely love and use every day, and I'm sure that if you experiment with these, you'll find amazing ways to integrate them into your own workflow. If you found this video helpful, hit the like button and subscribe so you don't miss any of my future videos. And we'll see you next time.